Welcome to a tutorial on how to install Pixel software on non-Pixel devices. And this is going to work on any devices that are listed on pixelexperience.org. So that's any of these devices. And with that out of the way, let's go ahead and begin the process. So the first thing you're going to want to do is back up your phone data. It's a prerequisite for the bootloader unlock, which is step 1. And by the way, this is an instructions file that I made, and it's going to help navigate the tutorial so that I'm looking at the exact same thing that you are. So let's look at the step 0, which is backing up phone data. If you're on a Windows computer, just plug in and take all the files you need and store them on your computer. If you have a Mac computer, then you're going to need a utility called Android File Transfer, which will enable you to access the internal storage of your device. And then you're ready to go to unlocking the bootloader. So the first thing to do is switch over to your device and navigate to Settings, About, Build Number, and then tap that 7 times. So once you do that, you should see a dialog box at the bottom of your device that says you are 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, etc. steps away from being a developer, and then it will probably ask you to put in your password, and then you're a developer. So after that, the reason we needed to do this was to enable 2 options, and those are advanced reboot and OEM unlocking. So either just search for or find them in developer options and enable those 2 options inside of the settings menu. And then we need to acquire some files. So that is just the software development kit platform tools released by Google. So it's going to be in the description, a link in the description, and then you just go to that link and then grab the one that corresponds to your system type. So for me, that was Mac. And then once you have that, just locate that file and then take it to a place that's going to be easy for you to access, which for me is like a folder within my downloads folder. And then it's going to have a name that looks pretty long and like this, and then probably ends in Darwin. So you just want to extract that, and it will create a folder called platform-tools. And just keep that open, and we'll come back to that later. Then you want to boot into fast boot mode from your device. So since we enabled the advanced reboot option, this is going to be pretty easy. You just depress the power button, and then your advanced reboot, either you have to like hit restart, or it's just going to be there, but there's going to be an option called Bootloader, and you just want to tap that. And I'll show a photo of what that looks like on the OnePlus 6T, which is the device that I'll be using to demo this process, and I'll show that now. So once you press Bootloader, your device is going to go into fast boot mode. And then you want to plug in your device into your computer and then navigate to this Platform Tools folder, which you already have open in your Finder or Windows Explorer, depending on which operating system you're using, and then navigate to it. For Mac, the way you navigate to a folder is using CD or change directory. For Windows, I think it's dir, and then the same thing, but for me, that's in Downloads, and then this folder within Downloads, and then Platform Tools. That's where all of the executables within that original zip that we downloaded from the developer.android.com was. So then you want to make sure that your device is connected to, like, that your computer recognizes the connection to your device. So you type fastboot devices, and then I'm not going to do this right now because I've already like done it on my phone, but once you press this button, you're going to have one line of output, which will verify that your device is indeed connected. If not, just make sure like the cable is connected and that your device is indeed in fast boot mode. And then after that, only after that, you can proceed. So once you see one line of output, it should just be the code name of your device, which is just like a short alphanumeric sequence. And then you do fast boot OEM unlock. And then this will unlock the bootloader on your phone. And note that this is going to wipe your data. So just make sure everything is like secure, like do a double check that you got all your stuff in your Explorer or something, because after that, it's all gone. And then once you press enter on that, your data will be wiped and your bootloader will be unlocked, and your device, once it finishes the unlocking procedure, will boot back up into the software as it occurred on day 1. So it'll be like fresh out of the box mode. So now we're ready to go on to actually installing the new software. So we need 3 files. they are a zip, and an image file. So the first zip is the actual software itself. So that's going to be on download.pixelexperience.org. Go to the devices tab, or you can just search for it. That might be easier. So for me, I'm going to be using OnePlus 6T as the example here. And then the latest build for OnePlus 6T was on June 12th. So I would just grab this one and then just keep track of it. It would go to my downloads folder. So that's the first file you need. And then once you've gotten that file for your device, the next thing you want to do is get the Team One Recovery Project recovery files. And you're going to get two types of files. So this is TWRP.me, which is the main Team One Recovery Project site. And from there, you're going to search for your device. So go to devices and search for yours. So again, mine is the OnePlus 6T. And select your geography. And then what you want to do is grab the zip and the image for the latest build of the Team One Recovery Project file for your device. So for me, that would be this link. Whoops, I somehow can't highlight it. I'll just hover over it. So this one and then this one. So I would get those two and then grab all three of those files and dump them in your Platform Tools folder. So for me, I have this one, which it had a much longer name. It was like Pixel Experience, Fajita, whatever, but I just named it to rom.zip because that's going to be easier. And then for the zip of the TWRP, just name that to something simple. I chose twrp-perm.zip because this is a permanent TWRP that you're going to install on your device. And then twrp.img is the img file. So this guy, I just named it to something shorter. And of course, now the highlighting works, which is weird. But anyway, so once you have those three files and you've renamed them and they're in your Platform Tools folder, you're ready to go on to your device again. So go ahead and enable the developer options and the advanced reboot again. And now, actually, if you look in your developer options, you see that OEM unlocking is like it's grayed out and it's on the on position because your device is like already unlocked, so you can't like revoke that. Anyway, so here I actually describe the old school method, which is to like use the power button and volume down button and wait 5 seconds, but it's actually easier, I think, because that actually varies per manufacturer. So just go ahead and like enable advanced reboot and go back into fast boot mode, and then plug your device back in and go back to your Platform Tools folder on your terminal. So that's already open here for me, and it should also be open for you if you didn't X that out. But and I forgot to mention in the first go around that actually if you're on Windows, and this is very important actually, I might put like a annotation afterwards, but you don't need the first two characters here if you're on Windows. The / that's not necessary. But here, go ahead and do fast boot devices again to verify that your device is connected to your computer. So right now, again, your device should be in fast boot mode and wired in from the cable to your computer. And then what we're going to do now is, instead of doing the OEM unlock, since we already did that, once you verify that your device is connected, do fast boot and then select the TWRP, or type in the twrp.img file. So that's this guy, and this is a transient one-time thing. So we're just going to use this to go into a temporary version of TWRP so that we can put in the permanent one later. So go ahead and do that, and then your device goes into recovery mode from Team One Recovery Project's recovery, and I'll see you over on the device. Welcome to TWRP recovery, which should have booted once you did fast boot the command that I just showed a second or two ago in the video. And then you might actually have a screen that says enter password. Note that that's just your own password that you used. Since your device was in like fresh out of the box mode, you probably didn't have a password put in yet, but if you did, just put that in, whatever you use to unlock your phone, like if it's a pin or a pattern, and then you'll be greeted to this homepage of TWRP. And then you want to go to advanced and then start the sideload, which is what we're going to use to put the ROM on our phone, like do the actual install of the software. And then you're going to press this ADB sideload button and swipe a prompt here to actually start the process, and making sure that your device is still connected to your computer. You'll be able to like sideload the ROM onto your device and then go about it that way. So I'll meet you back on the computer where we're going to do that. Now that ADB sideload has begun on your device, go ahead and go back to the terminal or command prompt window that you had when you did the fast boot stuff, and type in ADB sideload, and again on Windows you don't need those first two characters, the // and the first thing you're going to sideload is rom.zip. Remember, that's what I renamed the thing I downloaded from Pixel Experience. Whatever you renamed it, just make sure to put that, and then press enter here, and that file will be sent over to your device and installed on it. So there you go, that's the Pixel Experience ROM. And then you are going to want to do the exact same thing for the TWRP.zip file. So you're going to hit the home button once the thing finishes up installing on TWRP. Hit the home button, which is at the center of the bottom navigation bar. Hit home and then start again with the ADB sideload. So go to advanced ADB sideload and then swipe the confirmation prompt to actually begin ADB sideload, and then do the exact same thing. So ADB sideload, but then this time you're going to want to put in TWRP perm.zip, which will permanently put TWRP on your device. So this is important because if for some reason this causes a boot loop, then you're going to be able to go directly into TWRP recovery and like flash a different software that might work. And the software that I would recommend personally is the actual manufacturer software. So regardless, once that finishes, you are done with all the installing that is necessary for this. So then you would go back to home in TWRP and then press reboot and then system. And then your device should boot into your new ROM. So if it does, then yay, this process is over and we did it successfully, and you're going to have software experience that is exactly emulates that of a Pixel. Otherwise, you have probably encountered a boot loop. And in that situation, I would recommend reading step K here. You would want to try to go into recovery mode, which you can forcibly stop your device from doing a boot loop by pressing volume down and power. And if you press those two for a long enough time, you should boot into either fast boot mode or recovery. If you go directly into recovery, then you can try to find your stock software. So for me, on my device, I would download from OnePlus, like the OnePlus's website. I would download the software file and then flash that instead through ADB sideload. In the same way we did the Pixel Experience ROM. If you have a different phone, you would try to find the manufacturer's website, or you would go on XDA forums, and they probably have a bunch of links there for your stock. Just search your device stock software, and then you will find probably a bunch of results for XDA. And then, yeah, if you can't get into recovery mode for some reason, you would want to try to get into fast boot mode, and then you can use your image file that we had earlier to do a one-time install, or do a one-time access of TWRP, and then you can do the exact same thing with finding your manufacturer software. So that's like the escape route if it doesn't work, but since the Pixel Experience development team is like really good, I highly doubt that would happen. And enjoy. So I'll have a small clip of how it looks on my phone, but that's the tutorial, and I hope you like your new ROM. A little bit of Pixel Experience on my device. So that's the fingerprint scanner, and then it works great. It's really fast. It's like extremely clean, and it looks exactly as a Pixel would. So that's what I wanted all along, and glad to have it.